rights were sold, but then it moved to television. What do you think makes TV the right medium for this story?
I think we're in just a golden age of television. I really do. I think that TV's ability to linger on stories, to develop characters, to give you that sense that you're on a journey with them, it just is so much more feasible to tell a story of big epic scope and with a big cast of characters on a television screen than it is in a sort of a 90-minute movie framework. You know, just so much had to be cut out to keep a very simple narrative arc. And the one thing about A Discovery of Witches and the other books is they don't have a simple narrative arc, for sure.
So the first season is 8 episodes. Does that cover the first part of the first book, or how does that work?
Yep, so the first season, the first 8 episodes covers the first book, A Discovery of Witches, and we go right from the very beginning of the book to the end.
And what is your philosophy on how closely, you know, obviously there's so many great book series that have been made into shows or movies. What is your philosophy as the author of how closely a show or any kind of adaptation should hew to the original text?
Yeah, for me, what's really important is that we stick to the spirit of the books and we're faithful to the characters in the books. Plot has to change a little bit. Things have to be brought forward. Things have to be recessed back. That's just part of what it is to do an adaptation. And I think that as watchers, especially if we love the underlying material, we're okay with that. We're pretty savvy, we're pretty intelligent, but what we don't like is when our characters we've grown to love, are somehow unfamiliar feeling to us.
I read in one interview, and this is a quote from you, you said you were kind of a, quote, pain in the ass about details during production. Please elaborate.
Everybody always wants the pain in the ass comment. Well, you know what it was that there were just, you know, certain things like how you pick up a rare book, or, you know, whether or not you use gloves with a rare book. You know, you don't actually. That is a television conceit. And so everybody, you know, said, oh, and white gloves, and no white gloves. You know, I was going to be drummed out of the historical profession if something like that got in. So that there were just little details that I don't think really matter to anybody other than me, or details that I knew might matter to one of or more of the readers. And so I was just very protective of those, because one of the things that I think helps us as adults suspend our disbelief is a feeling of authenticity and groundedness. So even if it is about, you know, witches, demons, and vampires, it's still set very much in our world, and it needed to reflect that in a way.
And was there anything that had to be adapted in terms of how the magic exists in the books for TV?
Okay, I don't think so. I think we stayed pretty clearly, you know, on point with that. I think the big thing, of course, is that with special effects, so much more could be done than I could even imagine. And so the wonderful bits of sort of big pieces of magic, whether it's witch fire or witch wind or witch water, it was amazing to see how the creative team brought those to light. And they did so in a way that I couldn't have predicted, and just thought was really effective and beautiful.
So let's talk about the casting process a little bit. Obviously, you ended up with, you know, good cast and
fabulous cast.
You know, fairly good looking.
Pretty good looking.
What were you looking for in terms of what you wanted to see from performers when you were, you know, looking to fill the roles of Diana and Matthew?
Well, for me, the first thing was that they had to be phenomenal actors, because I think that these roles, or really any roles that delve into the supernatural, that again sort of push the bounds of what it is to be human, whether it's a superhero or a witch or a vampire, I think it's so crucial that the actors themselves are able to take that seriously. I think as an audience member, you can sort of almost smell it if the magic or is sort of held at a distance. And that really demands a really strong acting talent, I think, to be able to take that on. And in the case of this cast, it was just phenomenal to see them take on the characters, take on the material, and then to kind of run with it and expand with it. It was a real privilege to watch them do that.
Was it a long search to find the right lead actors?
I think it was a complicated search. I've never done it before, so I don't know what's long and what's short. I know it was really thorough. Kate Rode James, our casting director, just had amazing instincts and was really able to, I think, convince people to, have a read, to do a chemistry test. And honestly, from the first time I saw Matthew read, it was check it out now, it's all good. And then to see Teresa with him in a chemistry test, they were, from the minute they were together, it was just clear there was nobody else who could possibly play these roles.
You talked a little bit about when you adapt something, some areas of the story go sort of to the background, some move more to the fore. What were you excited about to explore more on screen that you maybe weren't able to get as deeply into in the books?
The thing that I thought that the writers just did brilliantly was to bring forward the characters that we know from the books are around and alive and doing things, usually doing bad things. But because the books are all in the first person perspective of Diana, we only know what she knows. But the writers were able to sort of brilliantly bring to life, okay, so Diana takes a book out of a library. Somewhere, Satu, the Finnish witch, is doing something. Somewhere, Peter Knox is up to no good. And so imagining those stories, bringing them forward so that you really get a kind of ensemble feeling and the world comes alive, that was so much fun. I would often say, okay, if I could go back and do a do-over, this is how I would do the books, right? So that I could get all of that juicy, fun intrigue into them. So.
Noticed a little cameo by you in the lecture scene. First of all, how'd that come about? And are you going to, should this go for future seasons, do a little Hitchcock moment in every season?
They told me it was tradition. And so I flew over one day to see the filming in Oxford because I really wanted to see Diana Roche. Teresa Palmer took rowing lessons, and she was actually on the water, and I really wanted to see it. It was sort of on my bucket list of things to see shot. And I said, well, we're filming her lecture. Would you like to be in the audience? And suddenly there were two people there, and they were taking off, my wrinkled clothing and going through my suitcase. And I said, put this on. I'd just been at the All Souls Con. Someone had given me a scarf to wear on the plane so I didn't get cold. They wrapped that around my neck, and I walked on. And I sat there, and then I was a total nightmare because I was so fidgety. I kept leaning over Portuguese really to get like a notepad. It was so embarrassing in retrospect. But, so I'm not sure they'll have me back for anything. But if they do, I would be really interested in playing a sort of, plump, wealthy, English Elizabethan shopper. As you can tell, I've thought about this a little bit.
I feel like you should just consider it's a done deal.
Big farthingale, big old rough, basket of fruit.
Yeah, exactly. I like all those details. So I want to talk a little bit about that ending. Need a minute, but he smells her sweatshirt, it's super pervy, but it's also really hot. And then she's got that smile at the end. Obviously, I'm guessing a lot of you have read the books. Yeah. But for new audiences and just for seeing this story unfold on screen, what can you sort of tease about how their relationship develops in this telling of the story?
I think that what Teresa and Matthew were able to do so brilliantly is to really get the complexity that comes about because he is such a phenomenally old creature. He's 1,500 years old. For him, feminism has happened in the last blink of his eye, and he's not sure it's going to stick. Teresa, on the other hand, is a modern woman with a mind of her own, and she doesn't want to be a witch. She does not want to go into the family business, which is sort of an excellent thing, actually, witches don't historically make out really well in human culture. And so, you know, it's that tension between these two people from very different worlds who are nevertheless attracted to each other. And then gradually being able to accept each other for who they really are, which is, I think, what we all want in a relationship. We want to be in a relationship with someone who really sees us, who doesn't ask us to change or be different. For Diana, that means putting up his pain in the neck sniffing of things. And for him, it means he can't open her car door without her kind of biting his head off, so yeah.
Well, and it's such a, you know, unfortunately timely theme, the idea of this woman who has this power but doesn't want to use it, and then coming to the sort of some understanding within herself of how to use it and how to use it in a way that feels good to her. And, you know, obviously so many things have changed since you've written the book, but it's interesting that this is...
Some things don't change.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I study historically, I study issues of power. I study issues of gender and power, and one of the things that I know for sure is that seizing your own power is never an easy proposition, and sort of actualizing that. And so, yeah, I think it is a timely story. I wish it wasn't, but I do think it is. And I look out into my own classroom and I see so many talented people who are hiding their light and their abilities because they want to fit in, they don't want to intimidate anybody, they don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. And you know, that's what's going to save the world, is all of us sort of being out there and being who we are and owning that difference.
Well, Deborah, thank you so much. And it premieres January 17th on Sundance Now and Shudder, so just clear your schedule. You're going to